Welcome back, everybody, to PicklePatter. Today we're gonna
Dive deep.
we're gonna dive deep into a question
Yeah.
that's probably crossed every pickleball player's mind at some point.
Yeah.
Does serving first really give you a leg up in the game?
It's a debate that seems to rally pickleball players everywhere. Does that initial control truly translate into a winning edge?
I'm Mark, and I'll admit I'm a bit of a first serve fanatic. Until, of course, my power serve goes rogue and lands out of bounds.
Yeah.
Happens every time.
And I'm Raven here to dissect the data and see if this perceived advantage holds up under scrutiny. Sometimes those golden pickles where you score right off the serve make it feel like a sure thing.
Oh, the elusive golden pickle.
Yeah.
I've chased those more times than I can count. There's something so satisfying about starting a point with that kind of momentum. But is that initial thrill actually a reliable indicator of success?
That's what we're here to find out.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of serving first and racking up those early points. But the unique scoring system in Pickleball ensures both sides get a chance to serve, starting at 0-0-2 for the serving team
Right.
and 0-0-1 for the receivers.
Right, so it's not like you're holding serve for a whole game like in tennis.
Right.
You only get 2 serves before the opportunity switches over.
Exactly.
So does that initial burst really translate into a higher likelihood of winning the entire match, or is it just a placebo effect?
That's the million-dollar pickleball question to get to the bottom of this.
Yeah.
We need to go beyond anecdotal evidence and personal preferences. We need hard data.
And lucky for us,
Yes.
some pickleball-loving
Pickleball enthusiasts.
data enthusiasts have done the heavy lifting for us. We're talking about a math professor and an engineer who built a mathematical program to simulate thousands upon thousands of pickleball matches.
Oh, wow.
They really wanted to see if serving first statistically correlated with winning.
They did.
Yeah.
And they didn't just stop at basic simulations. They went deep, factoring in different scoring formats, varying skill levels, and even the strategic advantage of starting on a particular side of the court.
Okay, now you've got me on the edge of my seat. What did they uncover? Does my first serve obsession actually hold water?
Well, buckle up because the results might surprise you for games to 11 points, which is a pretty common format.
Yeah.
They found no statistically significant advantage to serving first.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah.
So all that time I've been obsessing over my serve, practicing my underhand laser beam.
Oh.
It might not have mattered at all. I need a moment to process this.
I know, right? It kind of challenges the conventional wisdom we often hear on the court, but hold on, because it gets even more interesting. When they ran the simulations for games to 15 points, they actually did find a slight statistical edge for the team serving first.
Okay, so maybe there's a glimmer of hope for us first serve fanatics after all.
Yeah.
But why the difference between 11 and 15 points?
That's the million-dollar question, and honestly, there isn't a clear-cut answer. But one theory is that as the game goes longer, those subtle advantages have more time to accumulate and potentially sway the outcome. It's like compound interest in the world of pickleball.
Interesting. So maybe it's not just about the raw power of that first serve, but also about the cumulative impact over time.
Right.
This is really making me think about my game strategy. But before we get too deep into the strategy weeds, there's one more finding that I think our listeners are going to find truly mind-boggling.
Oh, absolutely. This one really challenges our assumptions. Their research indicated that choosing the starting side of the court can actually have a greater impact on the game's outcome than who serves first.
Whoa, hold on a second. Are you saying that where you stand on the court, the very beginning of the game, could be more important than whether you get to unleash your killer serve first? I need you to break this down for me because I'm having trouble wrapping my head around it.
I hear you. It's one of those counterintuitive findings that makes you rethink everything you thought you knew about pickleball and to understand why we need to dive into the quirkiness of pickleball's side-switching rule.
Okay, I'm all ears, lay it on me. Why would surrendering that first serve ever be a good idea?
Well, you know how in pickleball teams switch sides midway through the game? It's usually after 6 points in an 11-point game. And what the research revealed is that starting on the bad side, even if it means your opponent gets to serve first, can actually turn into an advantage later in the game.
You've officially blown my mind.
Yeah.
We've got to dive deeper into this bad side advantage because I need to know what makes a side bad and how this strategic surrender could possibly lead to victory.
Absolutely.
But I think we'll save that for part 2 of our deep dive.
Definitely a cliffhanger worth waiting for.
Listeners, we'll be back soon to unravel this pickleball mystery. Until then, keep those paddles swinging.
Yes. Welcome back to PicklePatter, ready to uncover why intentionally starting on the bad side of the court could be a pickleball power move.
You bet. Last time we left off with this idea of strategically surrendering the first serve to gain a potential advantage later in the game, it definitely goes against my instinct to dominate from the get-go.
Rightfully so. But let's break down why this strategy makes sense. Remember how teams switch sides midway through the game?
Yeah.
Typically after 6 points in an 11-point game, the research revealed that if one side consistently gave a team a slight edge,
Okay.
let's say a 60% chance of winning each point, the team starting on that good side might rack up points quickly.
So they'd have a strong early lead, but then they'd be forced to switch to the bad side. That almost feels like a recipe for disaster.
Exactly. They might be up, say, 5-2, but now they're on the side that statistically favors their opponents. Meanwhile, the other team, the one that endured that bad side for the first half, gets to capitalize on the good side doing those crucial final points.
Okay, that's starting to make sense. It's like they're playing the long game, strategically sacrificing a potential early lead to gain a statistical advantage when it matters most.
Precisely. And to illustrate this concept, the researchers created a hypothetical scenario where one side had a 100% chance of winning each point.
Oh, wow.
In almost every simulation, the team that started on that good side actually lost the match.
Wait, what, a 100% chance of winning each point and they still lost? That sounds completely counterintuitive.
It might seem that way at first, but highlights the power of pickleball's side-switching rule. They'd dominate the first half, but then completely crumble once they had to switch sides. The opposing team, despite a slow start, was able to capitalize on that late-game advantage and ultimately win the match.
Wow, that's incredible. But I have to ask, what exactly makes a side good or bad? Is it just a random thing, or are there specific factors that come into play?
It's not random at all. Several factors can contribute to a side being perceived as good or bad. Think about your own experiences on the court. You might find that one side has harsher sun glare during a certain time of day.
Oh, absolutely. There's this one court at my local park where the evening sun is absolutely brutal on one side. It's nearly impossible to see the ball coming at you.
Exactly. That would definitely qualify as a bad side during those evening games. Other factors could be wind direction, the slope of the court, even distractions outside the court.
Okay, now you're making me want to reassess every court I've ever played on.
Right.
I need to start factoring this side advantage into my game strategy. But I think we need to address the elephant in the room. This research focused heavily on simulations. How does all this translate to real-life pickleball matches with all their unpredictability?
You bring up a great point. While the findings are super intriguing, it's important to remember that real-life pickleball is way more complex than a computer simulation. There are countless variables that play player skill shot selection, communication, and even a little bit of luck.
Right, like that time my serve clipped the net cord, bounced twice on their side, and somehow dribbled over for a point. You can't simulate that kind of chaos.
Absolutely, and that's part of the beauty of the game. It's unpredictable and full of surprises, but what's cool about this research is that it gives us a new framework for thinking about strategy.
It's like having a secret weapon in our pickleball arsenal, a way to outsmart our opponents by understanding the subtle advantages that might not be immediately apparent. But before we declare this the ultimate pickleball strategy, there's one more layer of complexity that we need to unpack. Remember how the researchers factored in different skill levels?
Absolutely, and this is particularly relevant for doubles play. It's pretty common to have one player in a doubles pairing who has a more consistent or powerful serve.
Oh, you mean like me and my partner? Because I definitely have a more aggressive serve, which, as we've discussed, can sometimes backfire spectacularly.
Well, let's just say this applies to a lot of doubles teams out there, and according to the research, if a team has one stronger server, that person should strategically start on the right side of the court and serve first.
Okay, this is starting to sound like my kind of strategy. I'm all about maximizing my serve to gain control of the point. Why the right side specifically?
Think about the angle serving from the right side on that first serve allows for better court coverage, giving you a tactical advantage right off the bat.
So it's like a double whammy. Not only are they serving first, but they're also in a prime position to dictate the point from the very beginning. This is giving me a whole new perspective on double strategy.
Exactly. It's all about understanding these subtle nuances and using them to your advantage. Of course, effective communication and teamwork are still crucial, but having this strategic framework can help you make smarter decisions on the court.
This is fascinating stuff. It feels like we're peeling back the layers of the pickleball onion and uncovering all these hidden complexities. We've talked about the bad side advantage and the strategic use of serving first for stronger servers. But before we wrap up part 2, I have to ask, what about those golden pickles? Are they just a flashy fluke or a legitimate strategic goal? We'll dive into that in part 3. Stay tuned. Welcome back to PicklePatter listeners.
Mhm.
We're in the final stretch of our deep dive into the science of serving in pickleball, and we've saved a particularly juicy question for last.
That's right. We've dissected the bad side advantage and even debunked some myths about serving first.
Yeah.
But now it's time to tackle those awe-inspiring golden pickles.
You know those moments when your serve whizzes past your opponents without them even getting a paddle on it? Pure pickleball magic.
Yeah.
But are they just flashy flukes, or is there more to it?
Well, I think we can all agree that there's a certain thrill to scoring a golden pickle.
Oh, yeah.
It's a bit like a hole-in-one in golf, an instant point that showcases your skill and maybe even a bit of luck.
For sure.
But how much does that excitement actually translate to a strategic advantage?
That's what I'm eager to find out. I've always felt like a golden pickle sets the tone for the entire game. It's almost like a psychological power move.
Oh, absolutely. That psychological aspect definitely plays a role. But when we look at the data from those pickleball simulations, a fascinating pattern emerges. Remember how we discussed that serving first doesn't necessarily guarantee a win, especially in shorter games to 11 points?
Right. It's all about understanding the nuances of side choice skill level and those long game strategies.
Exactly. And while a golden pickle is a fantastic way to start a point, its statistical impact on winning the entire game might not be as significant as we'd imagine. Think of it this way. A golden pickle is essentially 1 point out of potentially dozens played throughout a match.
That's a really good point. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of that single moment without considering the bigger picture.
Precisely. While a golden pickle can certainly give you a boost of confidence and maybe even rattle your opponents, it's important to keep things in perspective. Focusing on consistency, strategic shot selection, and communication with your partner will likely have a more significant impact on your overall success in the game.
This is making me rethink my entire approach to those first serves. Maybe instead of going all out for a golden pickle every time, I should prioritize placement and consistency.
It's all about finding a balance. There is definitely a time and a place for those aggressive serves, especially if you have a killer serve that you can reliably control, but don't underestimate the power of a well-placed serve that forces your opponents into a weak return.
This has been a truly eye-opening deep dive into the science of serving in pickleball. We've busted some myths, uncovered some hidden advantages, and maybe even sparked a few friendly debates along the way.
Absolutely.
And hopefully we've inspired our listeners to approach their games with a renewed sense of strategy and a deeper understanding of the factors that contribute to success on the court.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Remember, pickleball is ultimately about having fun, connecting with others, and getting some exercise. So get out there, practice those serves, experiment with different strategies, and most importantly, enjoy the game.
That's right, and thanks for joining us on this exciting journey through the world of pickleball. Until next time on PicklePatter, keep those paddles swinging.